Okay, morning, Master Mason. No, we'll be doing it up here today. Today, I just want to start with a big thank you out to Ted over there at Peroski's. It's one of those things inside here. We got a meeting with ourselves from the SCP Foundation, and if you know us guys, it's one of those things. This is all day. You're gonna have a meeting with yourself all day. You're gonna have Ted in the office. You're gonna have at least one sheriff in town. Now, we paint the black body radiation problem in the Last Supper any way we like. Um, but inside here again, I want to say, I want to give a big thank you out to Ted. Um, he put me up in a number where it's not what I've been shooting for, but when you think about the comparable angle on things, and I've said this a lot of times, I'm dry in the mill, I'm not on fire with a torch, I'm not operating everything, and the thing's cut down, but I have to work. And you have to be able to produce on those things. And so it puts you in a nice little margin. He hooked me up with a number that is what I'm used to getting, but again, from situational awareness, is it puts it in a bracket that is better than what it should be. And I also hope that it kind of helped a lot of ways to raise some boats. It's unfortunate that everything couldn't have raised every boat. That's what I try to do with it. And I'm real serious about that. I don't like to cut out people. It's part of the director of information technology thing, and just a community bit that goes in with it. But well, let's just kick this off. So again, just a big thank you out there. The biggest part of it isn't just that it did this for me. When you think about what I'm playing, what my play is, or something like this, becomes the reality of what those situations look like. You'll hear, you will see, it will be, and different parts of the day you'll be thinking about different indexes on that. Well, you call it whatever you want. It's just, again, for me, it's a personal thing because I found a way to have high return on it. In conversation, it may not necessarily be monetary return, but it can be social return. It depends on how you like terms. The DGC Death Contract Gambit helps us form paperwork copies. That's again, it's a practice mathematics when you're doing the site management. Those the little graphs, not necessarily the board counts and those things like that. Those are fun. Those are great. It's a lot of information to try to retain in your head, because by the end of the week you'll go through it and go da 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 da, and I don't really know. You need some way to track that. Is it really this person or that person's job to do it? No. No, all that'll be all graphed out. That'll all be figured out somewhere else. You don't need to do it. But again, this is a practice. This is a skill. I do calculus. So, well, one of the biggest questions is, whether somebody's ever asked it to me or not, is, Jordan, what is calculus? And so you have to show them something. In the same way that here's the numbers, here's that thing. It's a 90-degree divergence and what that subject matter is when you have to explain to some calculus kid what calculus will actually look like. It's not going to be some graph. It is not going to be some clean structures. You will have clean structures and very clean ways of doing this that are well-established methods, but you may not know the orientation. You may not. There might be a common model that you use, but because there's something off on the floor or something like that is calculus. That is the thing. That is the monster that you are tracking as a calculus student. And I can't tell you what it'll be in motion and position, but you'll have an idea, and you'll begin to track that thing. And then you'll start to get results. Then you'll start to see things inside of that, and they're strong results. They are really solid, gravity-based, it'll put pressure on things. It's not always a good thing, but it's not a bad thing.
SCP-434-2 will cause the subject to consistently fail to consider their own needs in decision-making, to a point that is often eventually fatal.
Yep.
SCP-434-3 rarely speaks. and does so only
So,
to counsel the avoidance of activities
I tried to
or
get one
effort
on there
the
yesterday
subject's behalf.
in the video, but my video turned out sideways or something. I wish I could just have you in the orientation. I needed you
without chemical assistance,
to really
and a
describe
deep-seated reluctance to take rest of any
what the
kind.
system is.
SCP-434-4 will often fixate on a specific object or quality possessed by an individual known to the subject and advise its acquisition.
Here we go.
SCP-434-4 will
So here
also
we go.
react negatively to
Now,
all
I tried to say it in one of my videos when I clocked in that morning. I was like, just run around that corner. We do this a million times, but the number you see walking from the truck to inside the building is something you'll do a lot. You'll come outside, hang, get rid of cants. But there's stuff in the morning that you feel first thing. And it was a rainy day out there, and
regardless of practicality.
it was a rainy day out there that morning.
The loss of SCP-434
And I tried to remind them. I was like, well, guys, look outside. Look outside the look outside right by the door where that ditch is. And we're just going to take the forks on that loader, and we're just going to fluff rock out there, and we're going to go all the way to the, like, literally right down the road on the Vitruvian Math guys, overhead site for Gustins, a Vitruvian overhead. We could do those. And it's a point that it's raining. You could be in a nice dry building. You could be working cants. The paperwork are identical. And it's just something you have to bring up into, and hopefully with a standard like that. Again, it just doesn't work here. And I always will have a personal end inside of this. But the other side of it, you take some of these names and these companies and things like that, and I want to make sure that I provide a shadow problem for those guys to say, well, we've had this conversation before. This is how we've tracked it. This is how we began to graph it. These are where we know we can't leverage different points out of it, and they have to kind of look like that because it'll be at least fair enough on the body mechanics, the biometrics inside of this, that over days, over time, your age range, and things like that are going to stop you from falling into an index where you get really hurt. But also that this should improve your strength and improve your systems. But I have to have those things. There are some things that are undeniable. I must have that form of the marshmallow, even if they didn't write it. You know what I mean? It's like that situational stuff has to be there. Has to be there. Cannot be an exception. And it's got to be markable over a time period of time. And like I said, y'all know my time periods on these, the 30, 60, 90s, for sure, into certain aspects. And then from there, you should be able to take this kind of system like this, where I would say TEDS would be a good example, comparatively to, no offense when I put this name out there, but something like Johnson and Rhodes, when I was the tread guy, when I was doing those other things, where they gave me a thing, I had to work the initial model, and I eventually, in short order, got up to where I was. But when you can compare those two things to each other, you start to say across the board that this doesn't work. Now, this is an important conversation because we'll drop something in like Wendy's, or not Wendy's, but Subway and Marabitos, a gas station, as a variable. So I want you to dial that back for a moment to really consider, what I think about the number. And again, when you think about where some of these people need to be driven down and stuff, well, it makes a problem in Terracotta Army later. That is the biggest problem with it. How am I supposed to do things when skill and efficiency over a lot of labor and stuff like that don't have ranged values on it? Well, there's a trick with it. Firstly, there's a dual diagnosis to it. There might be a work differential. And I mean, like, we have the cant guy, that's what they do. They just do cants. And obviously you want to try to get the most out of it. But you'll bleed, you'll figure that one out on at some point in time when you have to really look at somebody and say, I can't do that because the answer winds up you having to leave. What I can do is stabilize that. What I can do is say, inside here, we can reduce this where I'm still getting a high return on it, and the amount of work that you do is this. But the truth of the matter is, you're going to have to go because you really don't have the skill sets to develop in here. And at any point in time, we can begin to track that. If you started to, then there would be a result. And so again, just how I wanted to present this information. Again, I want to say thank you to Ted. I appreciate that, and Matt and Derek and the other guys down there. And hopefully, I'm not doing too much of it. And like I said again, I hope it gives them something to hang on to, and I really appreciate it. Catch you on the next one.